All right, guys, what is going on in today's video here? I want to try to dispel for you guys some of the best gym growth strategy you will ever find. Okay, in today's video, that's my goal, to hopefully have you walk away with something, several gold nuggets to help you grow and run a better gym. That's ultimately the goal of this video here, because there is a lot of noise out there in the space in regards to what works and different tactics and things like that. And with this, I aim to really do a deep dive, providing some logic and some actionable steps that you can apply that really just make sense to help you grow your gym. My name is Will Hurst, and my company is Big Little Gyms. And of course, if you find this video valuable, you get a gold nugget out of it, or in general, you just want to say thanks. I'd love it if you click that little like button there. And if you want to make sure you get more of my content in the future, be sure to click the subscribe button, and even better, hit the notification bell if you want the notification on your phone when I roll something out, as I plan to really get on the horse with some more consistency with this stuff. And this will be hopefully be the first of many more videos following this kind of format here, to just kind of break down the strategy for how to grow a gym in a way that most gym owners I think are going to find refreshing, because the gym owner space is relatively swamped with people that want to take your money and give you a get-rich-quick kind of model that isn't necessarily sustainable. Most gym owners I know, and ideally the type that is probably going to watch and follow me, is someone who started a gym for the same reason I did, which is to build a community of people that are like-minded, that want to go on the mission with you to build a healthier, happier, friendlier community in their area, to have some freedom. You know, obviously we start our own businesses because we're tired of having a job, or we want something to put our passion into, and ideally to make some money doing it too, right? Because at the end of the day, people generally place their money is a agreed upon store of value, no matter how you view money. At the end of the day, we all use it to transact, and as such, we use it as a store of value. And people generally only give money to people they find value in, right? So at the end of the day, I want to help you do that, because I believe that if you started a gym, that you are at the forefront of changing more lives than big pharma, big food, any of these big conglomerates that are owned, they're big, large public companies that are not controlled by people with passion like you, but by people who just really want to see a profit as shareholders, right? Which is fine. I'm fine with free markets, but in our small businesses, we're not trying to start $100 billion companies. If you're trying to start a $100 billion company and you own a gym, then I hate to break it to you, but you probably picked the wrong avenue to do that. If you opened a gym, much in the same way that I did, my gyms were not my highest earning businesses that I've owned. I've owned several businesses, and my gyms were not necessarily my highest earning businesses, but they did very, very well. And for a number of years, for about a decade, I was able to, buy property. I was able to diversify my interest into other things from the profits I made with my gyms. I was able to hire and build really, really good staff and mentor and coach people into becoming better versions of themselves as employees of my company. Some of them even went on to start their own gyms and run other gyms and go on to do bigger things with their lives. And also, build big tribes of people that can have some influence on the surrounding area around you, right? At the end of the day, if you only have a few people in your gym doing business with you, not only are you not making any money, but you're probably not having very much impact, right? It might feel like you're having a lot of impact because you have these 20, 30, or 40, or 50 people who tell you you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, but really at the end of the day, if those 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 people are not bringing in enough people for you to grow, then they're not really telling anybody else, right? So it's not really serving you to just sit still and underserve your market. So at the end of the day, that's what I aim to provide here in this video, is growth strategy that fits the mold for people that look at their business that way, right? Which is different. If you have a hobby gym and you don't care if you make a dollar doing this, then there's going to be some strategy here you're probably not going to like, because it will involve me talking about making money. And at the end of the day, if you don't like making money, then I don't know why you chose to start a business in the first place. Maybe at the end of the day, maybe you do have a passion here, but I'll tell you that, for a lot of people, that passion runs out in 2, 3, 5 years. And at the end of the day, your customers want to see you go on and be successful, because if you're not successful, the passion will run out, and at some point you will close up your doors. You will cease to do business, because at the end of the day, like, at some point you start to ask yourself what you're doing with all your time. And there are phases of our life where, we have extra time to do things. And then those windows close as we do things like have families, maybe our professional, we need to change our profession or focus on our career. And we need to start making some money to pay some bills because we have people that we have to support, things like that. Right. So at the end of the day, like we need to be successful doing this, and we can't just go on about business as if it's this, happy-go-lucky thing, right? So let's dive in here and let's talk about this growth strategy here, guys. Okay, so some of the questions I get a lot are on this page right here, which I'm going to switch and I'm going to be sharing with you guys. What are the 4 core problems, right? So the 4 core problems that most of the gyms that I work with, and I work with here at Big Little Gyms, we have served over 1,000 gyms actively, and not just gyms that paid us once, but gyms that were members of our program, subscribers of our program. They're in the Big Little Gyms pro group, and 70% of them still are right now over 5 years, right? And I would say the only reason why there's not more is because some of that time was during COVID, where some gym owners decided they were going to pack it in, and that was outside our control. But I've gotten a lot of feedback in that time, and I've worked with a lot of really, really good gym owners and business owners who have given me I've been able to gather a lot of feedback. And I'm kind of a patterns guy. So at the end of the day, like I love to look at patterns and dissect patterns and look at like why people do the things they do or why they're not having success, right? And so the 4 core problems that we've been able to determine at Big Little Gyms, working with gyms that are not successful, is one of these 4 things or multiple of them, usually multiple of them, right? So number 1, not having enough leads, right? This is mostly self-explanatory. At the end of the day, this is basically we just don't have people showing their interest in our product, right? And when I say leads, I mean like people actually take action, fill something out on the internet that comes into you, and they're giving you permission to follow up with them, right? People dialing your phone, and you answer the phone, there's someone on the other end that's saying, I'm interested in doing business with you. People walking in the door and them saying, hey, I'm here because I heard about you and I'm interested in doing business with you, right? That's a lead, right? Followers on the internet are not leads. Customers are not leads. Those are people that were leads that are now customers, right? And you could argue that like they're leads for another level of service with you, but they're not necessarily people that are like, I'm ready, and whatever the case, all those are not leads. Leads are people that didn't know who you were, that now know who you are, that have taken an action and opted in and given you permission to sell them, right? Those are leads, right? And this is one of the easiest fixes for established gyms. And we're going to talk about that in a second as to how. Number 2, and this is really, really common for established gyms. These same gyms here that don't have enough leads are often the gyms where most of their members, if not all of their members, come from referrals, right? So a lot of the gyms, in the 1,000+ clients we've converted as clients here at Big Little Gyms, that's only like half the gyms that we've talked to in discovery calls. I personally have done over 1,500 discovery calls with gyms to sit down and go over the current situation, their desired situation, and tell them about what we do. And the one thing I found that for like 60-70% of them that have been in business for like 5+ years and are just stuck is they are often getting most of their business from referrals, right? They open up their gym, a few people heard about the buzz, came in, you had your first 15, 20, 30 gym members. And just to kind of put this all in perspective, when I say gyms, I'm talking about like independent group training, community-based gyms here, right? But I would say this also applies at just a higher scale to like the big box gyms, really almost any subscription-based business, if I'm honest. This kind of applies to almost any subscription-based membership model business, right? But say you're, a CrossFit gym or a jiu-jitsu studio or a kickboxing gym or a boot camp gym or a functional fitness studio or some sort of, we have gyms that do like basketball training. We have gyms that do like sports performance training for youth. Whatever it is, most of these gyms are targeting like, most of them are operating out of say 2,000, sometimes even 1,000 square feet up to 10 or 15,000 square feet, with most of them being, 3,000 to 5,000 square feet, targeting 150 or so members, right? That's really what they would like to have. I own 2 CrossFit gyms. I'm very, very familiar with that methodology, but it's really not much different in these other methodologies and other types of fitness. At the end of the day, all these types of gyms are generally, that size, that number of members. And most of them, a lot of them, 60, 70% of them come to me breaking even with like 50 to 70 members. And when I started to talk to them, and they won't say that their members came from referrals until I asked them. But they'll just say all these things, and I'll say, well, if you're not getting good quality leads otherwise, and you're not getting enough leads and no one knows who you are, how are you getting members? It's probably just from referrals, right? And then they'll say, yeah, it's mostly like, my first 20 or 30 people heard of me because word got out that I opened a gym. They brought in, 3 or 4 friends each, or maybe 10, 20% of those brought in 3 or 4 friends. Almost the rest of them didn't do anything. And you got some members out of your early adopters there, right? Those are your early adopters that came in, and the early adopters are most likely to bring in that next wave of customers, which are like your, what I would say your innovators, right? The people that like kind of want to join your gym and help you grow it, right? And like give you feedback and all that stuff. And then things kind of from there, you start to almost like bring in a person or two every month, but then churn a person or two every month. And at the end of the day, you're kind of just sitting still. So you can't scale with referrals, right? And it's too reliant on others at the end of the day. And what works is, just go ahead and just bring this out here. Okay. It's too reliant on others. And what works on word of mouth does not work with other forms of traffic, right? So when someone comes into your gym on word of mouth, they're very easy to close, right? Very easy, right? When someone brings them in, like you don't really need a sales process. You don't need a funnel. You don't need any lead generation stuff. Like their friend is going to bring them in, and they're going to be like, hey, he's here. He already knows how much it costs. He's going to sign up. Super, super easy. And some gym owners that get stuck at that 50, 70, 100 member mark will let this go to their head. They'll be like, man, I must be like really, really good at closing because got something popped up on my screen here. I must be really good at closing here because I close everybody that shows up, right? And reality is that when they go to scale their gym and use other types of traffic, they find out that type of process doesn't work. They're like, man, I'm running ads and I'm not closing anybody. The leads must be terrible, right? That's what they'll say. But in reality, they're just used to this process that is not very refined or not much of a process at all. It just doesn't work on other forms of traffic, right? So that's another problem. The quality of your leads is poor is the third core problem here. And a lot of gyms will get this when they start running ads. They'll say, when I'm running ads, almost no leads are qualified. They'll get like 100 leads, or they'll have an agency run ads for them, and they'll get a bunch of leads, and they'll be like, man, we didn't sign up anybody out of this, right? And it becomes discouraging, and it's easy to say, why bother? Because the leads are not a good fit. And as a result, you underprice yourself, right? So this is pretty wild how this happens. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Why you end up underpricing yourself, and why you will convince yourself that your pricing must be too high for your market. So you'll lower your price to get more members because there's kind of a supply and demand issue going on there. That's what ends up happening is you're kind of on the wrong side of the pricing and demand cycle. You kind of position yourself that way because you talk yourself into lowering your price, thinking the price has something to do with why the leads are, why lead quality is poor, or why you're not getting members, right? And number 4 here, which really almost everything is kind of downstream from this, is like no one knows who you are. Like no one in your gym or no one in your local area knows who you are. There are there are probably a lot of people in your area who do what you do. So it's very easy for you to get lost in the shuffle of all the other gyms in your area. And it's very, very easy for gym owners to kind of fall into a trap of being another also ran, right? So CrossFit gyms have struggled with this forever because anybody can start a CrossFit gym. You can pay your CrossFit affiliate for $4,000 or whatever it is. And it's the same with martial arts. And it's the same with a lot of, other types of gyms where it's like there's no barrier to entry, right? So at the end of the day, someone can find a cheap spot across the way from you and open up and undercut you by saying that they're the same thing you do, but for cheaper, right? And that, with that, it makes it hard to differentiate. It makes it hard to stand out as to like where you position yourself in the market. And if people don't know you exist, they can't possibly buy from you, right? So that's the other issue, right? It's like they can't find you. They don't know you exist. They don't know why you're different. And if they can't find you, like they can't possibly do business with you, right? All the other problems kind of stem from this problem, as I mentioned before. Like this kind of is downstream. The reason why your business comes from all referrals, or most of your referrals, is because no one else besides your members know you exist. So the only other people that are going to hear about you are people that know your members, which most people's social circles in their 30s and 40s, which is most of who's going to pay full price for your membership, it's pretty small, right? Most people, when they get into their career and their family stage of life, they've got like maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 friends that they hang out with regularly enough to recommend or even ask about what they're doing, right? The reason why quality of leads is poor is because no one knows you exist. So you go and do things like run ads to cold traffic and no one knows who you are there. So then they don't care. And the only leads you get are these really impulsive people that don't really seem to fit what you're doing at your gym, right? And you don't get enough leads because, again, you need traffic to get leads. So if you don't have traffic, no one knows who you are, you're not going to get any leads, right? Okay, so I want to talk about this for a second, right? As a result of underpricing yourself, right? So the demand pricing kind of matrix, if you will, guys. Let's talk about this for a second. I'm going to go over here and zoom out a little bit for you here. Okay, so how this results in you underpricing yourself, because another issue gyms have is like, so say you do have, or actually just like in my conversations with gyms, I would say that like one of the most common things I will see with gyms is they don't have enough members, but then they also are vastly underpriced to what they could be selling things for in the market. And what they'll say to me, actually, a gym owner said this to me the other day in our school group, is they said, they said they went through one of my trainings, which is very clear of like how to determine what to price your gym at, which has very little to do with your location. It has your location could have influence, of course, but if you price yourself solely on that, you're probably going to undercut yourself. And the market, and ultimately you're going to get into a race to the bottom because you're trying to position yourself based on price and not on value, right? And when you position yourself based on price, not value, there's always going to be someone cheaper, and there's always going to be someone who's objecting to you based on price. So you're naturally just going to keep driving your price down, and then you end up being a low price leader, which is the no man's land. If you're selling a high value service that includes coaching and programming, and if you're not a Planet Fitness, you're not going to be the cheapest in town. So it just doesn't make sense to position yourself that way. And plus, we have hundreds of gyms in small towns and markets and demographics where it's not considered wealthy, that are priced higher than gyms in wealthy areas, because you'll see that gym understands that they can build value and sell versus just trying to use price to dictate things, right? So at the end of the day, like this is how it results in you underpricing yourself. Is the supply of people is low. So like because no one knows who you are, the supply is low. Therefore, the demand for your services is low, making you want to lower your price to increase demand. Right? You're thinking people aren't buying, so if they show up, I have to sell them. I better. You get this anxiety, and you're like, I better be priced. So like if I get this opportunity to sell them, because I'm only going to get like 3 or 4 sales opportunities a month, I better lower my price so I get a yes every time, right? And then thing is you cannot use price to increase demand if no one knows who you are, right? So you're lowering your price thinking like, I got to close everybody that shows up. And you're thinking like, oh, if I do that, if I lower my price, more people will hear about me. When in reality, like no one knows you exist already. So it's kind of like if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to know that, to hear it or see it, then did the tree even exist? Because in reality, like, did it even happen, right? So like you can lower your price all you want. It's not going to generate more demand, right? Sure, you might close a couple more of the people that show up in the door, but then you're just filling your price with people who are underpaying for your services. And then the only people they're going to refer are people that are coming because you're kind of known as the cheap guy, right? This is putting yourself on the wrong side of the pricing demand cycle, right? If you create enough demand, then you can use price to actually filter, right? So we'll talk about that in a second. And it becomes clear that pricing is not the problem, right? No one knowing who you are is. If enough people know who you are, it changes, right? Having enough leads, not having enough leads is also part of the problem. And getting referrals and word of mouth from customers who are sharing because you are cheap is, right? If you brought someone in and they signed up because you're well priced, you're cheap, you're underpriced in your market, then everybody's just going to refer, all those same members are just going to refer friends that are just like them, because birds of a feather flock together. So you're going to fill up your gym with people who are underpriced. And as soon as you go to raise the price, it's going to create a big issue, because the only reason why they're there is price, right? That was their first principle, right? Now maybe you did a good job serving them and they're like, oh yeah, like this place is awesome. And I love it for so many other reasons than the price now. But in the back of their mind, that's still the first principle. They're going to kind of feel lied to if you raise the price, right? Versus like if someone buys based on value, they're going to understand that the price needs to go up, because they can understand that you're over delivering, right? And that starts with how you attract people into your business, the way you get demand. If there's enough demand, People naturally will pay more. That is supply and demand, right? Supply and demand. If there's enough demand, it creates perceived value, and people will want to pay whatever the price is and assume that you're probably going to ask to be paid more if you continue to provide that value, right? So here's how this changes, right? If you have enough people who know who you are, you will generate enough leads and it creates enough demand, right? When I had people walking in to for appointments, for bookings, for intros that we set up at our gym, and they walked in, they saw someone else sitting on the couch waiting to talk to me already, and they knew that they had to sit down and wait their turn to talk to me. We were able to set the price, and we got a yes every time. And we were starting to we began to charge prices that no one in our market charged. And we were on a street that had a strip club in one direction, a Caterpillar dealer on the other direction, which is a heavy equipment, like retailer. And the nearest demographic that was supposed to be like considered proper for our market was like 5 miles away. So one direction was a college, which nobody wanted to pay full price for. The other direction was a ghetto. It's like we were not demographically positioned to charge premium prices, but we did because when someone walked into our gym, they saw someone else sitting there ready to hand us money, and that created demand. And then we sat down and went through a proper sales process that built value. And as a result, we ended up closing more people at higher prices, right? And at the end of the day, that's your responsibility as a business owner, is to get more customers, keep them longer, and make them worth more, okay? Like those are the three things we're doing, right? At the end of the day, your business needs a systematic and organized way to get more customers, keep them longer, and make them worth more. If you don't do that, and say you don't keep your customers long enough, or you don't make them worth the right price, the right value for if each person's not paying you enough, you end up having to get more customers to make enough money to keep the doors open as your costs go up, because over time your costs go up to do business, especially in an age of inflation. Things are just going to continue to rise. So you need to be able to scale your business by getting more customers and keeping them longer and making them worth more, okay? So if you have enough people who know who you are, you will generate enough leads and create demand. You can then be choosier with who you take into your community and set a stronger standard for how your members behave and interact. And that in and of itself creates an even more vibrant community, right? It creates more of a club type environment of value and quality. And you can then use things like price to deter non-fits and lower pricing to take anyone versus lowering pricing to take anyone who will pay, right? Like right now, you're lowering pricing to take anyone who will pay because you need the money, right? You're selling from weakness versus like when you know you have the best gym in town, the best community in town. Our gym with 350 members deep, and we didn't go for that volume when we started. When we started our gym, we had 3,000 square feet, and our goal was 150 members. And we told ourselves if we can get to 350 members or 150 members, if we can get to 150 members in this 3,000 square feet, we will then consider expanding. But let's just worry about getting there first. So we did, and our members loved it. They loved having full classes of people just like them that were training hard, and we cranked the music up. We had great coaches, and because we made good money, we could recruit really all the best coaching in the Phoenix Valley here. And we at one point had all the best coaches. They all came to work for us because we paid more because we had profit. And when we had the best coaches, all of our members really appreciated the investment we were making in them, right? Versus me doing it all myself because I couldn't afford to pay someone better than myself to coach them. And no one else would leave us to open up a gym down the road because we had like a product you would not want to compete with. If the only thing that ever would happen is one of those coaches might leave and to open up a gym, but they wouldn't open up down the road for us because it was pretty much suicide for them to do that. They would go and move to the other side of town and open up a gym over there, and then we would stay friends, and they would ask me for advice and mentorship on their gym. In fact, it's a lot of why I do what I do, is because they saw how we did things and how it was different from anywhere else they ever worked, right? That's what I'm sharing with you guys here. Okay. So there's that, guys. That's how you underprice yourself, right? And I'm going to get into how gyms do, traffic wrong as well, but I want to go over this, right? So I want to just use this example of how to get 10 members a month at $200 a month per member every month, right? Because you're going to hear a lot of gurus on the internet, like guys that like to sell stuff to gym owners. A lot of their ads and things that they advertise with, I know because I get them because I've been a gym owner and they target people that are gym owners. I'll see these ads that are like, get 100 members in the next 30 days or your money back, or we'll work with you for free until you do, right? Like these are all the offers that you guys as gym owners are being pandered with. And a lot of it is just total like cockamamie. It's like it's totally if they can do it, it's totally unsustainable and very short-lived. And they often will charge premium prices. They'll often charge 15, 20K for their program, which is just so happens to be the amount of money you're going to make in that next 30 days. And you're going to basically transfer that money directly to them just in time for that strategy to not keep working anymore, because it's very much like you're liquidating all your relationship equity in your local market using these very aggressive paid ad strategies and unsustainable offers and these very high pressure bait and switch sales processes. And none of it's sustainable. I know because I've tried it. So I've tested all these things to know that like they're all very short-lived, right? So I'm going to be real here and talk about what most gym owners have told me they really actually want. What most gym owners actually want is nice, steady, stable growth. And most gym owners that come to me that are in that 50, 70, 100, 200 member mark, but want to go to that next level, most gyms under 150 want to get to 150 members, paying a premium price at something like $200 a month, right? Because if you do that, the math is awesome, right? So if I've got a 3,000 square foot gym that I'm paying $6,000 a month for, and then I've got a payroll of 10K, and we'll just lump our utilities in with that as well and just call it, let's say our overhead's 15K for payroll, utilities, and rent, right? If I've got, say, 200 members paying $200 a month, I'm doing 40K a month. That means me as the gym owner with everybody being paid, I'm making $20,000 a month, right? Simple math. Hopefully you're tracking here. And ideally, as a gym owner, you build that in a way where like every member you get stays, right? And as a small business with a staff of like 3 to 5 or maybe 10 people at most, you can't bring 50 or 100 people in your gym if it's a like coaching intensive training, where there's programming and a coach is needed to run the class. You can't bring 50 or 100 people a month into a gym like that. It's not sustainable to even do it from a marketing perspective. It won't last. But if you can do it, what you're going to find is it's going to break all your fulfillment systems, right? You're not going to be able to keep up. You're going to churn through a lot of those members, and you're going to get a reputation for being oversold. And you're going to lose a lot of your existing best members because you oversold your gym. I know because I dealt with that because I made that mistake at one point and had to apologize to a lot of members for doing that. I got kind of crazy with flooding my gym with a lot of members at one point and realized that like, oh, yeah, we got more members one month and made a bit more money, but the next month we actually ended up losing the difference basically because we had really good long-term members that were happy to keep paying that canceled with us because they thought that we were all about the money. And so we had a lot of explain to do that, like, hey, we were just trying to grow our business. We didn't go about it the right way. And so between my experience talking to a lot of gyms that have told me what their goal is, it's like really if they can get like 10 members a month, some gyms it's even like 5 or 7 members a month. Because if you think about it, if you've got 3,000 square foot gym and you can coach 15 to 20 people per class and you can host 5 to 7 classes per day, realistically 150 members to 200 members is the most you can handle before things start to break down as far as quality goes. Which hopefully if you're watching my video, you believe in quality and not just running like some sort of boot camp program where it's all about the most volume you can get and just churning through people, right? We want to keep our people. We want a low churn rate. We want to build a really good community of people that want to show up and work together every day. And as we do, we'll make a lot of money doing it because we're providing value to people, real value, right? So let's just use the idea of like 10 members a month here, right? And let's say we're charging a premium price, which, I owned CrossFit gyms and for a long time, like 150 was like the sweet spot. $150 a month was like the sweet spot for CrossFit gyms. And there's a lot of gyms that are still priced that or even less. And that's like, and a lot of gyms haven't even increased their prices since opening. And that's a problem because, inflation has reduced the value of the dollar by 35% in just the last 4 years alone. So if you're still charging $150 a month, that means you're getting about $90 a month in yesteryear's money, right? So you're actually making 35% less money. Right. So you need to level up. And for most of our gyms that are doing this right, they're charging $200 plus per month. Right. And you might choose to grandfather existing members in, but new members aren't going to know the difference. They're not going to know what your existing members pay. And you should be able to sit down and do that. So 10 members a month at $200 a month. Let's talk about how we do that. Let's go ahead and break it down. And this little guy is going to provide a straightforward approach to consistently acquiring that 10 members a month, paying $200 or more without relying on gimmicks, proprietary tactics. By reverse engineering this process and breaking it down into concrete steps, it's going to demonstrate how simple math and logic can lead to sustainable growth, okay? So let's talk about that real quick, right? So the numbers behind consistent growth. So we're just going to reverse engineer it, right? Okay, so if our goal is 10 members a month right here, we want 10 members a month. That means we need to close 10 people, right? We need 10 people to hand us money and say, I'm a customer, and have them on a recurring membership. In order to do that, we need at least 13 people to show up in our gym this month, right? 13 people to show up for an intro, a demo, or a tour. This is assuming an 80% close rate. Okay, it's assuming an 80% close rate because that's about what most gyms close the people that walk in the door. You might say now, I close everybody that walks in the door. But maybe you only do that with 3 people a month, and maybe that's because only people you're getting are from word of mouth. Again, like when you start getting more traffic in the door from other sources, you're not going to close everybody, okay? But let's say we close 80%. That means we need 13 people to show up, right? Simple math, 13 people, 80% of that means 10 people show up, and that means 10 of them buy. Okay, so in order to get 13 people, we need to set 17 appointments. Okay, we need to set 17 appointments. If we set 17 appointments, we'll get us about a 70% show rate. Okay, if it's a 70% show rate, we'll get those 13 people that we need over here to show up. Okay, in order to get 17 appointments set at that 70%, to get that 70% show rate, we need about 34 quality leads in that month. Okay, so it's a little more than 1 lead per day, right? So if you're not getting 1 lead per day, a little more than 1 lead per day, sometimes 2, there's no way you can close 10 members a month. Not sustainably, not every month. You might get lucky one month and get 10 people to show up and close all 10, and that's, you had 10 leads and 10 showed and 10 bought, but that's not replicatable. Across the 1,000+ gyms we've worked with, no one's closing 100% of the leads they get. And if they are, it's only because it's word of mouth, which is just not enough volume, right? You're not getting that many of them, right? And it might happen every now and then. It might be once in a blue moon you get that, right? Okay. So to generate the 34 quality, so you need to generate 34 quality leads to set 17 appointments, right? You'll need 34 quality leads at from a reliable traffic source, assuming a 50% booking rate, right? So 34 leads at 50% is going to create 17 booked appointments. If 70% of those show, you're going to get 13 people, right? If those 13 people show, you close at 80%, you're going to get 10 new members per month, right? Those are very replicatable numbers we've seen time and time again from gyms that we work with, right? Now, in talking about driving traffic to our website here, these are the different things you need to be looking at here. So to generate 34 quality leads, you'll need a higher effective conversion rate on your website. It needs to convert at least 7% of visitors into leads. This translates into a need for 510 page views of traffic, right? So you need 510 people to click through to your gym's website or wherever you generate your leads from, whether it be a funnel, a website, whatever. And ideally, those people need to at least know, like, and trust you, right? If it's a very poor quality of traffic, like say you're running ads and no one seeing the ads has ever heard of you before, they don't know, like, and trust you, you're gonna need a lot more visitors than this. But say the traffic source is good, or just a general mix of traffic sources from all different places, you need about 510 page views. And you need to convert at about a 7% page visitor rate, which most gyms' websites convert at like less than 1%. This is something that we see all the time. We see gym owners, established gym owners, going back to this. I mentioned earlier, I talk about this, but one of the easiest things to fix for gym owners is lead generation. Because if you've been established, so you've been in business 5, 7, 10 years, and you get good lead generation stuff, if you can send all your traffic to good lead generation stuff, funnels, landing pages, things like that, and it's done right, and it's optimized for that, and it's optimized for search engines and things like that, most gyms we work with will see a 3 or 4 or 5x increase in leads, especially for your average gym that's been in business 5, 7, 10 years, and that's 10 years. And that's not me trying to pitch you. I mean, it kind of is, because if you've been in business that long and you're not getting the lead flow, then you probably should come and work with us. But whatever the case might be, you need to fix that, right? Okay. So you need 510 page views, right, from traffic. Assuming a 3% click-through rate, you'll need an audience of 17,000 people, right? So you need 17,000 people who are at least aware of your existence to drive the required 510 page views, right? So just to kind of retract this, 17,000 people to see you. If 3% of those people click through to your website or your lead generation funnel, you'll get 510 page views. If that 510 page views converts at 7%, you'll get your 34 leads. If you get your 34 leads, you'll get 17 appointments. If you get your 17 appointments, you'll get 13 who show. If 13 show, you'll get 10 new members pretty consistently, right? And that's exactly what we see all the time with the gyms who come and work with us, where we implement the process, right? So there are 4 types of traffic sources, guys. You have paid traffic, organic traffic, content marketing, word of mouth. I'm going to go to this here because I want to talk about this. I want to show you guys this real quick. So this is the Big Little Gyms growth funnel, right? So this is your entire gym if everything's done right, which is our job here at Big Little Gyms. And you have here at the top, you have traffic, lead generation, nurture and follow up. There's 5 stages. Traffic, these are people who see you and know you exist. This is people who, these are the percentage of those people who have landed on your stuff and clicked through. Then it goes to nurture and follow up, the people that have opted in that need to be converted into appointments and bookings to visit your gym. Then we have close and convert, which is taking those people who show up and selling them something. And then you have retain and resell, upsell, which is ascending your clients up the value ladder. Once they become a paying customer, you want to make them more, you want to make that customer more valuable to your business than your competition will, right? That's a very, very, all the best businesses have the skill of being able to make their customers worth more than that of their competitions, right? That's, you know, most gym owners will compare themselves to other gyms based on volume, but then they won't compare themselves based on the value of a customer to their competition, right? They'll say, oh, that gym has 350 members. My gym has 150, or that gym has 50 members. I have 150. But meanwhile, that gym that has 50 members is getting 3 or 4 or 5x the value out of their customers that they are. And they're both customers are people that were just looking for fitness solutions, right? So in traffic and audience here, going back to this, 4 types of traffic sources, you have referral, which is just one of them, right? Word of mouth. You have organic, which includes things like, you know, your Google business profile, your SEO, or, you know, people finding you through local search like Bing, Yelp, guerrilla marketing and grassroots marketing tactics, right? All fall under the organic traffic umbrella. You have content marketing, right? Which is super important this day and age here, the age of social media, which is not going anywhere, right? This has been a total revolution of the way people communicate and share information. And at the end of the day, like if you notice here at the top, like none of these things are all connected. There's these dotted lines between them are showing that they all influence each other, right? Because people look for omnipresence these days. People, when they're searching for a local service provider, they don't just trust one traffic source. They will see you on one traffic source and they will go to edify how, you know, whether or not they should do business with you on other traffic sources. And if you can push yourself out in front of them across multiple traffic sources, you get what's called omnipresence. And when you do that, you get all of these things just work better. You know, I've done it with my company, Big Little Gyms. This company you're watching right now, this video you're watching right now, in fact, is a form of omnipresence. And I will tell you that every time I post, I generate thousands of dollars in revenue every time on any one of my traffic sources. It was the same with my gyms. Every time I posted, I knew it was going to generate me thousands of dollars. And that's because when I posted it using content marketing, I had these other traffic sources working for me where they were going to see me after seeing some of my content. They were going to see some of my paid ads. They were going to see our organic marketing and all of our reviews and our reputation and our authority. They might even start asking their friends about us. And then one of their friends inevitably works out at our gym, right? And when they get those 4 touch points, now the odds of them becoming a customer are like 99%. There's almost no chance they don't become a customer, right? So, and when you get enough people in this traffic and audience pocket here, and you have these 4 traffic sources working for you, you convert almost everybody that hears about you. You create so much demand that the thing you need to, you end up using pricing to filter people out. You end up charging premium prices because you need to tell people like, hey, if you're not willing to pay this, then we can't have you here because we only have so much space, and spaces are actually indeed limited because we only have so much physical space, right? You have the 4 walls at your gym are the thing that creates the scarcity when they walk into your gym on a Monday afternoon and see that all your classes are full and that the music's up and everybody's having a good time. They're all excited to be there. Everybody's working hard. They're high-fiving each other, and it doesn't look like there's space for one more. Guess what? When you say the price is $250 a month, they want to pay it because they're like, oh my gosh, like look at all these people that look just like me in here doing their thing. This is clearly where I should be. I've got FOMO. I'm missing out, right? And then the price thing no longer becomes a discussion because there's status, right? Super important to understand, okay? that there's 4 types of traffic sources. And what most gurus are going to do, because I see it, they're going to tell you all about paid advertising. They're going to say, let's run some direct response paid ads to a bait and switch offer, right? That's what companies like Gym Launch did for years and still do to this day, is pretty much sell you a paid advertising strategy that shows you how to run direct response offers, and it works for like 2-3 months. And guess what? It takes 2 or 3 months to pay for their $16,000, $20,000 front end cost. And that's exactly the money you're going to make over that 2-3 months. And guess what happens after 2-3 months? It stops working, because you can only rinse and repeat that strategy a couple times. And in most markets, it doesn't even work at all, right? What's being missed by doing that and that alone is that you're not building a complete omnipresent traffic and audience funnel, right, across the top, right? It's very important to understand, right? So it's important to understand a diversified approach, right? So all these things flow into each other. Relying solely on a single traffic source can lead to stagnation and plateaus in growth. To achieve consistent and sustainable growth, it is crucial to funnel traffic from multiple sources into a centralized system where leads can be effectively followed up with, booked, and converted into paying members. So you have paid traffic flowing into organic traffic, flowing into content marketing, flowing into word of mouth. Paid traffic includes things like advertising campaigns that can drive immediate results, but may be costly in the long run, because this is not a lot where a lot of people go around paid traffic. Here, this one right here, is their whole business is propped up on just paid ads, right? That's actually something that Gym Launch and Alex Hormozi created. Is back when Facebook ads were cheap, they told every one of their gyms to run it, and it was the only strategy. I know because I have a lot of gyms that came to our program after it running out of steam, and essentially their whole model was run paid ads while ads are cheap to bait and switch direct response offers to get leads off a lead form. But what happened is they would tell their gyms to run that and not do any of this other stuff. And so many gyms went out of business. When this got too expensive to do anymore, because inevitably paid advertising will always rise in cost. This will always rise in cost. Okay. So I'm going to go to this right here and just kind of talk about how most gyms do this wrong. Okay. So since we're already kind of on it. So right here you have referral, local search, content, and paid advertising. Okay. So I'm going to zoom in on this, right? So going to paid advertising, here's what most gyms do is, I got to use this to move this over. There we go. Is you're either running the same ads as everyone else, or it's the only way you're driving traffic, right? So the problem with that is if it's the only way you're driving traffic, then there's no differentiation. The lead quality starts to dive over time, because ultimately there's only so many people in your market, right? And most people, when you're running ads on social media, running paid ads, like they work really well at the beginning, but if you oversaturate your market, they will stop working because people get banner blindness, right? And they start to associate your business with being a business that only runs urgency, scarcity, bait and switch offers. You can't do that. It's going to lead to you getting a reputation of just being someone that just markets at people and not providing any value in your content, right? The lead quality is going to dive big time right here. Okay. So you have no differentiation. So if it's the only way you're driving traffic, you have no differentiation. Your cost keeps rising as well. So if you only run ads as your only traffic source, it eventually becomes non-viable economically, because your ads are never going to be cheaper than when you first run them. Well, depending on, we definitely have gyms that come to us that have been running other ad strategies, and we will lower their ad costs because our ad strategy is really, really good. And they've been following some guy on the internet that has no idea what he's doing, but just knows how to sell things really, really well. And so we will bring the ad costs back down. But then inevitably, if they keep running it nonstop and saturating their market, the cost to acquire a member will continue to rise, right? You'll also create a lot of banner blindness. And in these situations where you have no differentiation, lead quality dives, and it creates banner blindness, no one cares, right? No one cares. If people seeing your ads, no one cares, right? And in the situation where you're running the same ads as everybody else because you're rinsing and repeating the same stuff, you also create banner blindness, your lead quality dives, and you end up with no differentiation. And again, no one cares, right? Content. How most gyms do this is they have just repetitive posts of people working out and trying to convince people you're better or or you're just basically posting internal messaging, right? You're posting stuff that really only your members are going to know what's about. Like you're using jargon, you're using keywords that only someone who's been indoctrinated into your community and methodology. Like a lot of CrossFit gyms are terrible about this. And I know because I owned a CrossFit gym, and one of the ways I crushed my market was just not posting about the same stuff every other gym did. I just watched everything that they did and did the opposite, because they all just posted pictures of people doing burpees and thrusters. And if you're not a CrossFit gym owner and you're like, haha, CrossFit's stupid, guess what? Other types of gym methodologies do the same thing. Like everybody does the same thing. It's either a post about burpees and thrusters and why CrossFit's the best, and people doing CrossFit and sweating doing CrossFit or whatever your fitness methodology is, or people slinging mud at other kinds of fitness and saying whether better. And what's interesting about that is no one cares except your existing members, right? Like, sure, do you help steelman your tribe a little bit, your tribe messaging? Sure, you do. But if you only got 50 or 60 members, like, that's not going to help you grow, right? People will just stop paying attention to you, right? So that's part of the problem there, is a really terrible content strategy. When your content strategy should look something like this, right? It should work to inform. It should be done very systematically, and you should be producing content in a specific rotation that we talk a lot here to our clients here at Big Little Gym, and give them strategy and templates for, that informs, entertains, and inspires people, right? It should inform them, which is going to do so by giving value videos, member interviews, hot takes and opinions. Entertains, giving some behind the scenes stuff, it being funny and entertaining, giving a hot take or opinion because people love proliferation, and inspiring, and this stuff pouring into solving problems, being instructional, giving them advice on their nutrition and sleep, which is a part of getting fitter, right? Testimonial, story, member wins, and doing what's called the Committed Club, which is a framework and process we give all of our gyms that helps to kind of create a lot of buzz around your gym for members who are showing up and actually using it, right? So this is what it should be doing. And what most gyms are doing is this, right? Very, very single-minded, okay? What they also do wrong is on local search, right? There's two things. They either just can't find you because your local search positioning is so bad, and they just don't know you exist, right? So they just don't know you exist. Or say you've been in business for a while, and one of two things is happening. We see this a lot with established gyms. They might actually be positioned well. They're on Google and people are finding them. This is one of the biggest things we'll see here at Big Little Gyms, and we'll see a big, big improvement for our gyms with, is they will be on Google, often pretty decently ranked because they're already on, because they've been there for like 10 years. And they'll have like 10 reviews. They'll have like 3 photos, and no attention has been paid. And what's funny is that same gym owner is the same gym owner telling me, oh yeah, we have the best gym in town. We have the best community. We get great word of mouth. And it's like, well, you've been stuck at 70 members a month for 5 years. So you clearly don't get that great a word of mouth. And how good is your word of mouth if I can Google you and find out that you have 26 reviews and there's like 10 gyms who have 5 times more reviews than you do, right? It's like, you clearly haven't tried, right? So there's not enough authority there to get people to actually take action. They're just going to click the other gym, because if they see you in local search, they also see all your competitors. And if your competitors outshine you and are very obviously the better choice, they're not going to waste their time clicking on your stuff because your stuff looks underwhelming, or you're poorly positioned, right? Or like you're not even ranked well because you're not doing any of the things I just mentioned. Any of the things that we have on our SEO checklist that we do for all of our gyms, or have all of our gyms do and put into practice in their SOPs, you're not ranked well, right? Now, say people happen to find you anyways, despite all that. Maybe you're the only CrossFit gym in town or something, and like they're going to click on you because there's no other CrossFit gyms. They still go through your stuff. They get over this hump despite poor positioning and not enough authority, or not being able to find you. Then they go through to like your website, or they call you. They call you, or they walk in. Now, walk-ins, people just don't do this, right? Most people, if your lead generation stuff is set up to force people to walk into your door to tell you they want to do business with you, like most people just aren't going to do that, right? Phone calls, no one really likes to do this. In most cases, they're just going to go elsewhere, right? Okay. Website, poorly set up page conversion, and no lead generation stuff. As a result, it creates a lot of friction and very poor conversion, especially if your stuff is not built well for mobile, because 85 to 90% of your people are visiting your gym's website on mobile. And if it's poorly formatted, and then there's a bunch of friction because it basically reads like a brochure, and it's not very clear what the next step is for them to take, you're going to be converting visitors at a rate of like maybe 1% instead of like the 7 or 10% you could be, which means for every one lead you're getting, you could be getting like 10. What happens to most people is they're just going to leave your site. They're just going to go to the next gym, right? They're going to see you through local search. They're going to click your stuff. They're just going to click the back button a couple times and go to the next gym. And if that gym's done it better than you, then they're just going to click on their stuff, and then you're going to lose, right? And then you're going to wonder why that gym is getting business and yours is not. And you're going to be like, man, like I just must not be very good at what I'm doing, or I'm priced too high and I'm going to lower my price. And you're going to lower your price and underprice yourself. And as a result, now you lose doubly because you're not getting any customers. And when they do come in, they don't pay enough because you think that price has something to do with this whole thing that's going on here. And then referral, you might get a walk-in every now and then. Your member brings someone in, or you do a bring a friend day occasionally. And what's funny is there's entire companies that are like gym growth. They call themselves gym growth companies that their entire strategy is just referral marketing. They're going to tell you like, oh, you just run bring a friend days. I'm not going to name any names. I really, 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 really want to, but I'm not going to do that because it's not professional. And at the end of the day, like they think their strategy works, and referral marketing does work. But if that's the only way you grow your business, you're going to plateau, and it's going to lead to it's going to have short-term wins, but you can only ask your members to bring friends so often. You're going to get banner blindness, and eventually you're going to wear your members out. Eventually your members are going to be like, man, all he cares about is getting my friends in the door. And not to mention, all your members only have so many friends in their social circle, and only a couple of those friends are people that they hang out with enough to even ask about what they're doing, or to even, care. And like, no one wants to be the person that's just talking about CrossFit or martial arts or whatever they do for fitness all the time, right? There was actually a joke about that for the longest time with CrossFit, that like we all had that friend that did CrossFit. I was that friend for a long time, and I remember it got to the point where all my family and friends were like, "Can we just not talk about CrossFit at the dinner table?" It was almost like it gave CrossFit a bad name because it was so, it was annoying, right? No one wants that, right? So you can only leverage walk-in so much, and your friends, your members, friends, and family, they can only cash in relationship equity so many times. Relationship equity is basically like how that works is if like I'm your friend and I've given you so much value as your friend. I show up to help you move to move your house when you buy a new house. I'm there when you have a flat tire. Like all that relationship equity they build, builds trust, right? And they're not going to cash that in every single month to help you get more customers, right? They're going to, and people reciprocate in weird ways, but it's very predictable in that like they're just not going to do that, right? So what happens at most gyms is they're only using one of these, and they do it very shallow, right? They do it very shallow, or they do it wrong, instead of doing it like this, where all these things work together to create omnipresence, which creates, the 17,000 people locally who at least are aware of your existence, which gets that 7% of them to know, like, and trust you and go to your website, which gets you that 34 quality leads you need, which gets you that 17 appointments that you need, that gets you the 13 people that show up and the 10 people that close, right? That's how that works. Okay. So, going on here, let's see. Okay. We covered all of our bases here. We covered all of our bases here. Now, creating systems, right? How do we create systems around this? Because it's really, really important. Is you're only one person, right? If you're an independent group model gym owner, or even a big box style gym owner, like gyms are not big businesses, right? It's funny is a lot of these gurus that run companies, it's funny, Gym Launch, no one in that company has owned a gym in a decade. And a decade ago, it was much easier to own gyms. And then they're running a company with 150 members, 150 employees. And they're talking to gym owners about hiring and building teams and running their business as if they got 150 employees. Gym owners it's probably you doing most of these things. You might have 2 or 3 or 4 employees, half of them are part-time. If you do a good job, maybe you have 10 people, right? So you have to rely heavily on systems, right? You have to rely heavily on what's at the top of the funnel here, leverage, right? The 4 types of leverage, right? You need to leverage capital and labor, which are the oldest forms of labor, right? That's super important. Is you need to leverage these 2 things. You need to leverage other people doing work for you, And you need to leverage your capital, right? You need to put your money to work for you. You need to use that money to put systems in place at your business, put processes in place at your business, invest in processes and systems and strategies, and that leverage things like advertising, right? But the problem with these things is they require permission, right? Labor and capital require permission. In order to have permission to use money, you have to have it, right? If you don't have it, then you don't have permission to use money, right? You need to go borrow it, and then it means you asking for permission, right? Labor is asking for permission, right? You have to ask, in order to leverage labor, you have to ask people to work for you. You have to pay them well, right? You have to use capital to pay them well, to ask them to do things, right? Both things require permission, and that's important. We need to have those things because we can't do it all ourselves, and we definitely need to make our money work for us, and our business is the best thing we can invest in, especially right now. If you take a look at the economy, man, if you were to put your money into the economy right now, I mean, sure, could you make some more money? You could, but you're probably just going to keep up with inflation at this rate. And we're at an all-time high in most everything you can buy, every asset. There's more likelihood that these things correct before they continue to go up, right? And if they do go up, you're looking at maybe 5-10% per year, right? Versus like your business can double this year. Your business, if you have a 50-member gym and you get 100 members, you can, that money you spend, say you spend money to join our program here at Big Little Gyms and your gym doubles the next year, that's going to put 6 figures in your pocket. Okay. So it's important to understand that, but we also need to use those systems to leverage code and media, right? How you leverage media is creating media assets, content, ads, organic marketing pieces that can work for you while you sleep, because you're only one person, right? And you can't wake up every day and just keep publishing content and it not be doing anything for you, right? It needs to go to work for you. It needs to be done in a way that leverages all these platforms and gets people to click and watch your stuff and build an audience so you can ideally generate leads, right? Generate traffic, right? You need media to go to work for you, and it's permissionless, right? In order for media to keep working for you, all you need to do is create it. And once you create it, it goes to work for you without permission. You don't need to ask anybody permission to publish. You can do that. Code, you need to leverage systems, right? So down here in the funnel, all this traffic up here pumps into lead forms, your website, and probably your phone, probably your call, and then pumps into Gymnetics, right? That's why here at Big Little Gyms, we build these systems out for you so you can leverage code and have a system that does text, email, and phone follow-up to get more of the leads, to generate more leads, get more of those leads booked, to get more of those bookings to show up, and to get more of those people who show up to buy, right? That's super, super important, okay? So it's very, very important to understand that you need to be creating systems and have a systematic way to get members that cannot rely on the owner, that has operational processes, have talent acquisition and training involved, right? And if you want that, then you should go check out biglittlegyms.com. You should come do a discovery call with me or my team at biglittlegyms.com. If you go there, you can watch a short video that tells a little bit about my story, and it will also tell you a little bit about what Big Little Gyms is. In short, what Big Little Gyms is what you're looking at on this page. It's everything here, right? We're very unique in that we aren't just software, we aren't just coaching, we aren't just mentorship, we aren't just systems or processes, we aren't just marketing material. We are the whole thing, right? We are the whole thing, right? And that's because, again, it goes back to helping you build a really, really good business, right? We want to help you as a gym owner. I have a soft spot in my heart for gym owners because I was one. I went through one of the hardest times in my life. I had a very difficult mental health episode that I faced about 8 years ago, and I happened to own a gym when I went through it. And I was having a bit of a crisis, and I needed friends, I needed family, I needed my community, I needed my tribe, I needed to make some money. Part of it was finding out I was having a growing family and I was going to be having my daughter. That never really popped into my head at the time, but it happened to be going on at the time I was having this crisis. And I think my mind subconsciously knew that we needed to produce. And so having gone through that very, very difficult time and having spent a number of years dedicating myself to my community and my tribe and not really making much money doing it, I decided to start applying a lot of what I learned from my other businesses, which were much, much bigger businesses. I've owned a handful of businesses now that have done 7 figures a year plus. And at first I didn't apply a lot of what I knew to my gyms. I didn't do it because I didn't think it applied. I thought that I could just grow just doing this, word of mouth. I just thought if I opened up and I built it, they will come, and they did for a little bit, but then it got competitive in my market. And there were other gyms starting to do what I did, and that started to take chunks out of the market share that I owned. And because I didn't have these other ways of getting members, I started to plateau, and it was really a struggle for a long, hard time. And I know a lot of gym owners, because most of the discovery calls we do with gym owners are going through the exact same thing. And so my goal is to help you build some of this for you, give it to you so you can leverage it. You have leverage of code, show you what to build, and so you have leverage of media, show you how to leverage labor and give you some of that labor by us doing some of this for you, and give you a good way to leverage your capital by investing in something that's actually going to get an enormous return, not just now, but for a long time. There's a reason why all of our gyms that work with us still work with us after 5 years. And despite even going through COVID, where a lot of gyms went through a really tough time, we had more gyms join us during COVID than left us because they had to go out of business, because a lot of gyms were hurting and needed to rebuild. And we gave them the systems, and all those gyms are still with us. We churn at less than a 2 to 3% churn rate per year of the clients who work with us, because our systems don't just work at the beginning, they work for our clients for a long time, because we are always iterating on this, because this is a moving target. Anybody who gives you systems that worked 5 years ago and tells you they still work is lying to you and is selling you something that is no longer as effective as it used to be, and is not iterating on it. And that's what most of these companies are doing out there in the gym space, whereas our job is to always stay a step ahead and be developing better, more cutting edge systems and processes and strategies for you to grow your gym. And we're very, very happy with the outcomes we've had for our customers, and would invite you to come and get the same outcome with us here at Big Little Gym. So go to biglittlegyms.com. And when you get there, you can watch a little video on the page if you want. You don't have to watch the video. You can scroll down and see what we're about, or you can just click the Get Started button on the page. Also down below this video, there'll probably be a link out to the landing page and where to book. You could book a time. When you click that, you can select the time. It's going to ask you a few questions about your gym. We want to know about your current situation. We want to know about your desired situation and your goals. It's very important for us to know your goals, because at the end of the day, if your goals aren't aligned with the goals that we normally help our gym owners achieve, then we're going to tell you. We're going to tell you that, like, hey, there's better fits out there for you besides us. You know, we have 600 plus gyms we work with as of this recording. If it's a year from now, we'll probably have 1,000 at the rate we've grown. And at the end of the day, like, I don't need to convince you or anybody to do business with us if we aren't, the best fit for you. If at the end of the day, if we choose to sell you our services, it's because we believe we can help you get a result that is an equal or ideally even greater. I wouldn't say equal. Equal is not even our goal. It should be a 3 or 5x return within the first 45 days of working with us. And if we're inviting you to work with us in our program, it's because we believe that it can do that for you. Because at the end of the day, we know if it does that for you, you're going to want to stay a customer, and you're going to stay a customer for a long time. And that's how we'll make our money, is off the backs of a win-win relationship, not a win-lose relationship where you transfer all the equity you make from our systems back to us. At the end of the day, we want you building a business, having operating capital that you can leverage, because that's an important part of the top of the funnel here is capital leverage, that you can grow your business with, and ideally go and do even bigger, more impactful things with the community and tribe that you've built. That's it, guys. If you found this video valuable and you want to reciprocate in any way, shape, or form, then you can go ahead and click the like button below. If you have a moment, leave a comment. I love when people leave comments. That when you like and comment, it gets the algorithm fired up and more people see the video. If you want to get more of me in your feed and get my next video when that comes out, go ahead and click the subscribe button. If you want to get notified when I release it, so you can be one of the first to watch it and get to implement some of what you learn here first before some of your competition does, then click the notification bell. And what will happen is YouTube will notify you when I publish a video, and you'll be one of the first people to watch. So thanks, guys. Have a great day, and let's crush it onward and upward.